Number 9. ROID-RAGE killing. Bodybuilder Sally McNeil and her husband Ray McNeil were both ex-Marines with a relationship that left much to be desired. On Valentine's Day in 1995, 8 stormy years of marriage came to a brutal end. Sally was angry when Ray reached their Oceanside, California house after 10 p.m. that night. She had been obsessing over where he was all evening and desperately waiting for him to arrive home. She started yelling and asking where he'd gone, while Ray just stood at the stove frying chicken. The quarrel became more heated, and one of Sally's children claimed to have heard a gurgling sound as if her mother was being strangled. Minutes after that, Sally walked into a closet and pulled out a 12-gauge shotgun. She shot Ray twice in the stomach and jaw, but she wasn't finished. Sally then walked into the bedroom to load the revolver again, and she returned to the kitchen and shot him in the head. Their kids, who had seen all of this happen, were traumatized and ran out of the home yelling at the top of their lungs. She followed the kids out and gave the shotgun to her next-door neighbor, saying that Ray had been abusing her and that she had shot him in self-defense. In a state of daze, Sally waited for the police to arrive, who immediately took her into custody. It was later discovered that both of them had been under the influence of heavy steroids. This earned them the name of the ROID-RAGE killing. The killing did not come as a shock to those who were close to the couple. Sally's behavior had been progressively getting worse. On one occasion, she was charged for pulling out a gun on her first husband and smashing his car windows with a crowbar. She was also known to drop a heavy weight from a balcony onto Ray's car as he was leaving for work. During her trial, the prosecutor suggested that Sally killed her husband for the insurance money, because he was planning on leaving her. They also claimed that the murder was planned since she went back to her room to reload the rifle. After a few hours of deliberation, Sally was found guilty of murdering her husband for financial gain. She was sentenced to detention and will be eligible for parole in her late 60s. Number 8. Gold's Gym Rampage. In October of 2011, a 32-year-old weightlifter named Chad Brothers entered a Gold's Gym in New York and went on a terrifying rampage. He walked into the gym and started wrecking the place by throwing things and pushing equipment over. Then, when the cops showed up to arrest him for his violent frenzy, he had a heart attack when they were forced to use a taser on him. According to the police chief, Chad had attacked a female officer and injured an innocent gym goer. The only way to stop the Hulk was with a slight shock of electricity. But what caused Chad to lose his mind? The cops were initially called after Chad punched a man who was just minding his business, running on a treadmill. Then he really lost his mind. He started destroying weight machines and chucking dumbbells across the room. When a female officer showed up and realized she was dealing with a man who had clearly injected himself with far too many steroids, she had no choice but to jolt him with her taser. But Chad didn't go down with the first zap. Multiple officers had to zap him 4 or 5 times and beat him with their batons before he was finally down for the count. Nobody gets hit with a taser that many times without some serious damage. Once he was subdued, the cops rushed him to the hospital. Sadly, he died from cardiac arrest shortly after he arrived. Nobody knows what triggered his outburst, but experts believe it was steroids that caused his rage. Number 7. Power Couple. Melissa James was ecstatic at the prospect of working as the personal assistant to professional bodybuilders Craig Titus and Kelly Ryan. The married couple were well known in the bodybuilding world and had enjoyed a lot of success. We also imagine that the couple and their assistant had some good times along the way. What's difficult to imagine now is how things went so wrong in the end. On December 14, 2005, Melissa James was discovered burnt beyond identification in the trunk of Kelly Ryan's Jaguar. According to the findings, she'd been killed in the most horrific way. She was assaulted, drugged, jolted with a taser, and injected with morphine before being strangled and finally burned. Duct tape had also been used to wrap around her head. The coroner was able to peel away the tape during the examination and observed that it had created a gruesome death mask. Her body had been so badly battered that the coroner was unable to determine the actual cause of death, or if she had been alive when she had been put inside the car trunk. Following the murder, the pair went on the run, sparking a countrywide manhunt. They were detained 9 days later at a manicure salon in a Boston suburb. The couple said that Melissa died of an overdose, so they burned her body before fleeing town, claiming they had done so out of fear that the publicity might damage their careers. Police were not convinced. After further questioning, Craig confessed to having an extramarital relationship with Melissa that Kelly was unaware of. He was also using steroids and other substances. The couple then changed their story and said that their personal assistant had stolen their car, so they did not have any clue how she was found dead in the trunk. But the security footage from a nearby Walmart proved otherwise. Kelly was spotted with a shopping cart stocked with 7 bottles of lighter fluid and a barbecue set on the day of the murder. Titus was also seen on video aiding his wife in placing items into the back of the car. At the time, police suspected James was already inside the trunk dead. This was what prosecution needed to secure their case. After the footage came out, Craig Titus agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder, first-degree abduction, and arson. Kelly Ryan admitted to arson and battery with a deadly weapon, resulting in serious bodily harm. Number 6. Tearing a muscle. In early 2021 in Dubai, Ryan Big Rig Crowley had one of the worst days possible at the gym when his pectoral muscle tore right off his bone. He didn't just simply tear a muscle, it literally detached itself from his skeleton. Ouch! Ryan and his friend, who is also a powerlifter, Larry Wheels, were pumping iron at a local gym when they started pumping each other up. They were excitedly telling each other that they could lift more and more. Ryan added an extra 88 pounds, or just about 40 kilograms, to his bench press, totaling a weight of 485 pounds, or 220 kilograms. But that weight was just too much for his body to handle. The whole thing was captured on video. He tore his muscle right in the middle of his bench press. In the disturbing footage, you can even see his pectoral tendon jutting out of his skin from where it had been ripped off the bone. Ryan immediately collapsed on the floor in agony and was rushed to the hospital. His whole arm and all the way down his torso were covered in bruises. Doctors had to completely reconstruct his pec, and it will take a considerable amount of time to recover. Safe to say, he won't be powerlifting anytime soon. Number 5. Snapped leg. If you think tearing a muscle is bad, listen to this. In March of 2017 at an Indian gym, a man named Ambrish Patel snapped his knee on a leg press machine in the middle of his workout. One of his friends was filming as he pushed hundreds of pounds on the leg press. He was moving a lot of weight and it was pretty impressive until his body decided, nope. His leg bent back the wrong way and snapped like a twig. The video of the horrific accident has been viewed over 90 million times since it was uploaded to Facebook. After his leg snaps, the video shows Patel starting to panic. He puts his other foot on the floor and struggles to get out from under the heavy weights. In the second clip, he is seen lying on the floor while others rush to help. Patel was a regular at the gym and often used the leg press. An employee that was working there said that after the incident, Patel actually seemed like he was doing okay. He couldn't work out anymore and it would take him 6 months to fully heal, but his leg should recover. What's the worst injury you've seen at the gym? Tell us in the comments below. Number 4. Psycho Bodybuilder. While breakups can sometimes bring the worst out of you, John Riccardi took the end of his relationship to the next level. He made sure that his ex, Connie Navarro, lived a life of misery and fear before eventually killing her. In 1983, Connie Navarro and her friend Sue Jory were shot and killed in Navarro's West Los Angeles apartment. Her ex-boyfriend, bodybuilder John Riccardi, was the main suspect. Friends and family told horrific tales about how John had been stalking Connie months prior to the killing. One such incident came from Connie's son David, who said that a week before the murder, John had broken into their home and handcuffed him while pointing a gun. Maybe he took too much pre-workout. Maybe he was on way too many steroids. The real motive is unclear. The day following the murders, John vanished into thin air and wasn't seen again for the next 8 years. This was devastating for the family because the killer had gotten away, or so they thought. After a segment of America's Most Wanted aired, the show's viewers were able to provide information that led authorities to a condo in Houston. Riccardi appeared to be living a life of luxury, and he was reportedly supporting himself by committing burglaries. When he was arrested, money, diamonds, and other valuables were discovered in his home. Witnesses testified that Riccardi became increasingly hostile towards Navarro since their breakup, despite his denial that he harassed her or had anything to do with her murder. He was convicted of 2 charges of first-degree murder and got the death sentence. The California Supreme Court eventually overturned the sentence and amended it to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 3. The It Couple. Gordon Kimbrough and Christy Ramsey were the it couple in the bodybuilding scene in San Francisco. They had both won solo prizes and had won the USA Pairs title together in 1991. Their personal relationship behind closed doors was entirely different altogether. Gordon had admitted to having affairs with other women. Not only was he a cheater, but he was also hitting Christy on a regular basis. In the end, it became too much to cope with and Christy left him. Unable to really let each other go, they got back together with one condition from Christy: they had to do couples therapy. They planned to get married after the relationship had finally calmed down, but things took a slight detour when, surprisingly, Christy met and fell in love with another man. Gordon was enraged when she told him she wanted to end their 4-year relationship and call off the wedding. He allegedly slapped her across the face, then put an electrical cord around her neck 3 times and knotted it. He then stabbed her in the throat twice with a kitchen knife, and when the police arrived at the scene, he was discovered holding a syringe to his neck. Gordon took the uncommon step of testifying in his own defense, stating that the murder was committed in a fit of rage. He anticipated a lighter punishment, but he was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison. Number 2. Slip of the wrist. During the Christmas season of 2016 in central Iowa, 22-year-old Iowa State University student Kyle Thompson went to the gym to work out. He was a regular at the Elite Edge Transformation Center in Kenny. It was just a normal Monday morning and Kyle was working out with a barbell. He was lying on his back lifting it over his head. That's when everything went horribly wrong in a split second. The barbell slipped from his hand, falling and crushing his neck. Mark Jans, spokesman for the gym, said in a statement that Kyle was bench pressing 350 pounds or about 143 kilograms at the time of the accident. There were people spotting him when the barbell slipped, but none of them were quick enough to grab the bar before it landed on his throat. They were able to get it off of him, but the damage had already been done. An ambulance was called and Kyle was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead from the injury. That much weight falling directly on his throat was just too much to come back from. It was like an elephant stepped directly on his neck. And it wasn't like Kyle didn't know what he was doing. He was a smart and fit guy. He knew exactly how to work out properly. It was just a freak accident, a slip of the wrist. Number 1. Revenge. In 2017, Memorez Rackley, who was married but separated from her husband, had been dating bodybuilder Jeremy Patterson for about 6 months. They both enjoyed working out and they had a personal trainer in common. Memorez hadn't fully let Jeremy into her life though. She didn't introduce him to her friends or kids or even post pictures of them together. Apparently, she didn't feel the same and she decided to call it quits on the 1st of June. This left Jeremy extremely angry, plotting his revenge. Jeremy approached Memorez and her sons the next day in the parking lot of a nail salon. Using harsh words, he told her kids that he had been in a relationship with their mom. Jeremy also informed the boys that he would kill them. He followed them out of the salon in his car and tried to run them off the road. Jeremy then uploaded nude revenge images of Memorez on her son's soccer team's Instagram page. He also sent Memorez a picture of her children by text and threatened to harm them. Jeremy texted Memorez on June 6th apologizing for his actions and telling her that she was his sunshine. That same afternoon, Memorez went to pick up her boys from school when Jeremy confronted them. The pair got into an intense verbal dispute, and Memorez and her sons ran down the street to get away from him. Memorez worried for her kids' safety, so she flagged down an SUV with 3 young girls and a woman and asked them for a ride. As soon as Jeremy saw them get in the SUV, he left in the other direction, only to turn around back and block the SUV from leaving. Jeremy then got out of the car, gun in hand, and shot Memorez point blank. Jeremy then began shooting through the rear passenger window. 3 of the children were injured, while Memorez was killed after being shot 3 times. Thanks for watching. Would you rather get an injury while working out and never be able to work out again, or give up music for the rest of your life? Tell us which one would be worse in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.